The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, my name is Jolene Schaefer and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, How to Streamline the Sales Cycle with Sage CRM, presented by Peter Wolf of Azamba. A little housekeeping before we get started. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise down. However, you can submit any questions you have throughout the webinar. To submit a question, look for the question section in your GoToWebinar. We will answer all questions at the end of the presentation. We are recording this presentation and it will be distributed tomorrow to all attendees as well as to those who registered but were not able to attend. Please take a moment at the end of the presentation to answer our one survey question. With that said, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to attend our webinar. We're here to help you get the most out of your software solutions and help you find an easier way to run your business by providing you software and industry knowledge, tools, and support whenever you need it. We've invited Azamba here today because they are the industry experts on CRM. So whether you're here doing research for a new solution or you're just here to learn, we'd like to encourage you to ask any questions throughout the webinar. Lastly, as a quick reminder, SWK is constantly sharing important updates and software tips and tricks on our social media channels. So we encourage you to follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Peter.
Perfect. Thanks, Jolene. Let's do this, and I think you should be able to see my screen. First, I want to say thank you to Jolene and the team at SWK for giving me this opportunity. I love CRM. It's my passion. I've been doing it for 20 years, so I just always love these opportunities to spread the love of CRM. Some of you may already have CRM. You might be struggling with using it effectively. I hope you'll learn a few tips and tricks here today. And for those of you evaluating it, I think you're going to like what you see. Especially if you have a Sage accounting product. Sage CRM is just a real rock solid solution to help improve sales. I always like to say that CRM tackles three main initiatives for our customers: improve customer retention, which obviously is a huge thing for all of us because it's easier to keep an existing customer than it is to get a new customer. The second thing it does is it will help you improve sales per sales rep. So if your salespeople have a quota of even, whatever, $500,000, $1 million, usually you can improve sales for each sales rep with CRM because it's going to get you organized. And then the third thing it will do is allow you to improve sales per customer. So with cross sells and upsells, because you'll have better understanding of who those customers are, what your products are that sell well, and you'll be able to put them in front of the customers. So with that said, let's talk about a few of the common sales challenges that I see facing small, medium-sized businesses out there. And you might have different challenges, but these are the ones that I see that are the common ones I hear about. So a lot of times people will come to us and they don't really have a defined sales process. Everyone kind of does their own thing. Maybe there is a process, but it's all done manually with Outlook and spreadsheets and going into the accounting software to do quotes. Because of that, it kind of leads to this next point, which is follow-ups can get missed pretty easily. Sales can be lost. And really that's a very common side effect because we're all juggling so much these days. There's so many interruptions in our day that it's really hard to stay organized and stay on top of everything. So it's very common. If I sent you a quote and I never call and see how you're doing, if you got that, well, shame on me because, my competitors, if they're following up with you, they're going to be in front of you and they're going to probably land that deal. So it's up to us to make sure that we don't let that happen in our own businesses. Another thing I see happening is the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. This is very common, especially in with the COVID, with the pandemic. There's been a lot of working from home. People are a little bit more disorganized than normal. And so what's going on with those customers? What have we promised them? What have they bought in the past? Do they have any service tickets with us? So without having kind of that visibility to what's going on, it doesn't allow us to serve the customers and the prospects as fast and as accurately as we'd like. And so that's a real problem for people. And the last thing here is just how do we adjust our course when we're lost? So a lot of my prospects come to me and they don't really even know what their key performance indicators are. They don't know how long it takes to close an average sales deal. They don't know what their salespeople are doing on a daily basis. They don't know what separates the winners and from the middle of the rank when it comes to sales performance. And sometimes you do know from a gut feel or anecdotally, or you just kind of know your team. But what CRM will allow you to do is kind of put it all together so you can actually get some data and analytics. So let's talk a little bit about that. What does CRM do? CRM helps you become and stay more organized. So it's going to put everything in one place to make sure that you got everything that you need when you need it. It's going to make sure you don't miss a step again. Those follow-ups missing a follow-up will be a distant memory for you if you do it right. It'll allow you to work as a team. This is big because I've seen, since I've been doing CRM for 20 years, I've seen most businesses evolve from a solo account manager responsibility to manage the customers and manage the sales cycle to more of a team approach, because no one person works alone anymore. We all work in tandem to the benefit of the customer. Your organization might be different. You might still have account-based approach, so your salespeople are focused on certain accounts. But even in those situations, it's good to know what's going on as a team, how to serve that account in case your salespeople leave. You know, I used to say get hit by a bus, but someone told me that was morbid. So now I say if your salespeople win the lottery. So if they win the lottery and have to leave, you want to make sure that you have a team-based approach to see what's going on with those customers. CRM also allows you to get the big picture fast. So it brings all that information together in one place, and then it allows you to kind of look at it and kind of make decisions. And then there's all sorts of little things that I'm going to get into today about that CRM can do for you. The little things are, I'm practically minded. So for me, sometimes the little things are as good, if not better, than the big things. And I'm going to share with you a few of those little things. They might save you 5 minutes here, 2 minutes there. But if it's a task that takes you 5 minutes and you do it 20 times a week, you know, over the course of a week, if you can cut that by, 80%, instead of taking, I can't do the math very well in my head, but instead of taking 20 minutes, it takes you 2 minutes for the week. That adds up over time. So let's talk about a little bit about each of these things and how CRM is going to do this. So there's 4 key areas that CRM that offers to you to kind of solve for those common pain points and kind of common struggles. First off, CRM is a central data repository. So the key data is at your fingertips when you need it. And I have this first bullet point here. It's structured relational data. That's just a fancy way of saying an account, a customer, a prospect could have multiple opportunities. It could have multiple contacts, multiple addresses. So everything is linked together, and you can drill in and drill sideways and drill upwards to find the information that you need whenever you need it. So you put in data once. So for example, you put an appointment on your calendar to go visit ABC Company and visit with Susan Davis over there. And if you go to Susan's record, you'll see that appointment. If you go to ABC Company, you'll see that appointment. So data is always wherever you go. It's not locked in someone's email. It's not locked in a spreadsheet. It's not locked in the accounting system. It's put in the CRM, so wherever you are, you can get to it. The other thing that's important with Sage CRM is the sales and accounting data work together. I have had a lot of experience selling standalone CRM, and it is very effective too. You don't need to have the accounting data, but I will tell you just from my experience, if I go pull up a customer record, if a customer's calling me or if I have an appointment, to be able to quickly jump over to a tab and see what things they bought in the past, if they owe us money, if they're at their credit limit or exceeding their credit limit, all that information helps me paint a better picture of who that account is and how to more effectively serve them and streamline my sales cycle. So I can move faster because all that information is right there at my fingertips. The second thing, and this is, to me, is where CRM starts to get very valuable. So the calendaring and tickler lists, it tells me who's doing what and when. And so as an individual salesperson, CRM will help me get organized and manage my list of activities, but it also will allow my coworkers, my management to see what's going on. This allows us to have simple and powerful activity tracking. You can roll tasks forward. What I mean by that is if I call someone today but I don't get in touch with them, I can easily push a button to create a follow-up task, because just because I've closed off the task of calling them today, if I didn't get a hold of them, that I didn't really achieve the goal. So you want to be able to roll tasks forward pretty easily. And of course, there's Outlook integration. So all of this information can flow to my Outlook calendar, my Outlook task list. You can integrate email and all that great stuff. And I'm going to cover all these things in the demo here. We've got 2 more slides and we'll get to the demo. Workflows is one of the greatest strengths of Sage CRM. And I'm going to spend a good chunk of time on this today when we flip over to the system. Workflows essentially allow you to control, guide, and manage your sales process. And when we talk about streamlining your sales steps, this is really the heart of it. because you can define dynamic stages and actions. What do I mean by that is you could have corporate sales, you could have enterprise sales, you could have small business sales, or it could be sales around certain products. And those sales might have different processes. So selling a widget might be a fast sales cycle. Selling a complex solution where you have to work with the customer to design and engineer a product, that's going to be a little bit longer. So you can have stages dynamically show up based on any number of conditions. And then you can have actions. Actions are things like, I'm going to send a quote. I'm going to schedule a follow-up. I'm going to start negotiations with this customer. And I'll show you some of those things. You can also have conditional automations. Automations is where CRM really starts to sing and dance for you. A lot of people in the past would think of CRM as just that central data repository. More and more, especially over the last 5 years, it's what I've seen is customers want to take advantage of what I call the invisible personal assistant approach of CRM. And what do I mean by that? It's simple things, but they're powerful things. So I send you a quote. My CRM system can put it on my calendar to follow up with you in 2 days. That's huge, because then my salespeople don't need to remember that. They won't miss a step because the system never forgets, and it will put it on the calendar. And that's just a simple example. You could do much more complex things. So based on the customer, if it's one of our top tier customers, it puts it on my calendar to follow up with them, stay in touch. If it's more of a tire kicker, someone that asks us for quotes a lot, well, I don't want to waste my sales cycles on that person necessarily, but I also don't want to lose them. So maybe the system, instead of putting a reminder on my calendar, shoots them an email. It looks like it's from me, and it says, hey, Susan, did you get that quote? Is there anything you need from me? And so those are just like, hopefully those 2 little ideas there gets you thinking about how you could streamline your sales cycle if your people didn't need to worry about those follow-ups, if the system could automatically be programmed to do those things. And then also with workflows, it keeps track of who did what when, so you'll be able to have a running history of where that sales is in its sales cycle, so you can pick up and resume sales at any point. This is very useful if you have longer sales cycles. So let's say a sale has gone dormant. Maybe that's a standard thing where the customer's deciding things and it's gone dormant for a couple of weeks, couple of months. I have some customers with year-plus long sales cycles. Well, you can go in at any time and kind of pick up where you left off. The other time it's very useful is if you juggle a lot of little sales all at once. So if you're juggling 10, 20, 30 sales at once, it's really hard to stay on top of all those things. So to streamline your sales cycle, having that tracking information that lets you pick up where you left off very quickly, it beats the heck out of going into Outlook and trying to string together where you left off by reading some emails, which can be very time consuming. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of you, that's what you're doing right now. I see it all the time. So don't lose faith. It's easy to solve with CRM. Then the last bit about CRM that is very powerful is kind of that visibility. So stay on top of the big picture and put out the fires before they blaze out of control. Dashboards and reports, this is a key area of CRM. Usually we tell people, believe it or not, to save this kind of for a phase 2 once you start to get data in the system. But the dashboards will give you a quick at-a-glance look at what's going on with those customers, what's going on with your salespeople, what's going on with your sales cycle. So you can do things like give me a list of all my quotes that should have closed in the last 30 days. So if I put some quotes out there and I thought they were going to close, and I log in today and see them on my dashboard, it tells me how to prioritize my day. And again, when we talk about streamlining sales cycles, it's all about using my time effectively to get the maximum results. And so having a dashboard like that, that's just one example. Get you thinking about your own company, but what dashboards could you use to make sure that things don't fall through the cracks and that your people are staying focused on the most important things? Another one that I like to see is my accounts that spent X in a year ago, but have spent less than half of that in the last trailing 12 months, because that could be a problem. I want to make sure that if a customer spent $100,000 with us in 2019 and I'm in August of 2020 and they haven't even spent a fraction of that, well, I better give them a call before we've lost them for good. Nothing else. Let's just find out what's going on with them, touch base, let them know that we're still here for them. Again, it's all about retaining those customers and making sure that they know that we are there, we care, and just being informed about what's going on with your business. The role in user-based context allows you to set up different dashboards for different roles. So I'm a small business owner. I deal with small businesses. A lot of us wear many hats. And so you might have a sales manager dashboard, and then you might have a salesperson dashboard. You might have a service manager dashboard, a service person dashboard. So you can have different dashboards for the role and for the user. So that's kind of like the big picture of what CRM does. Now I'm going to break into the demo and show you specifics about how these things work. And just before I drop off here, I'm going to probably come back to this slide at the end, but if you have any questions, the easiest way to reach me is either email or connect with me on LinkedIn, or contact your SWK account manager. I work very closely with SWK and their team. They have a lot of great folks there, and I'm sure you all know your account manager. If not, you can just ping us at the end of this call in the webinar, put a chat question in, and Jolene will help you get set up. So with that said, I'm going to switch over to the software. And Jolene, just let me know if you cannot see it. I'm assuming that you can, so I'm going to keep going here. So the first thing I want to talk about is the central data repository. So I mentioned that CRM allows you to have all this data in one place, and literally out of the box, you can have any type of data that you want, but it comes with these things: company, the people that you deal with at the company, cases. So a lot of people think CRM is just sales, but it's also servicing. So it's very handy to know if you're going to go call on a customer if they've got open service tickets. The sales opportunity, which we're going to focus on here today. Leads can be separate than companies. So if you purchase unqualified lead lists, you might want to put them in a separate bucket while you warm them up and call them and move them forward and progress them. And then there's other things in here. I'm not going to cover all this today, but definitely if you want to see a one-on-one demonstration, again, call your SWK account rep. All of this data is designed to be easily available at your fingertips. So if I go into search for a company, I've got this search screen. And this search screen, all the screens in Sage CRM can be modified to suit your needs. Very few of our customers will use the out-of-the-box default search screens. So you might want to have in here their Sage 100 customer ID as a search field. Whatever you choose to have in here, though, it allows you to find your customers quickly. It allows you to slice and dice these things in a way. So you could say, I only want active people who are prospects. All right, so I want to just focus on my prospects today. You could also say, give me all my customers who owe us money. So I want to do collection calls. So you can use CRM for that as well. So you can slice and dice this many different ways. And once you do, if there's certain views that you look at, certain slices that you look at a lot, you can save those searches. And so if I click this up here, you can see I have 1,210 companies in total. But if I click the search, it automatically will pull up that search criteria and filter it back down to the 163 that fit this criteria. It is a very handy way to stay on top of my customers. And I'm not going to go into this too much, but I do want to show you everything that's behind one of these records. So if I drill into an account, you have structured data behind here. So you can track all sorts of information about this customer record. You can see communications, which is Sage's way of calling activities, interactions. You can think about it however you want, but it's phone calls, emails, meetings, proposals I've sent, quotes I've sent. So it's anywhere anybody at our company has sent them. So it's anybody at our company, Susan, Simon, Peter, Brian, have sent information to anybody at their company. And so right here, it's only Colin, but if there was other people we worked with, I would see those as well. You can track the opportunities. So a company can have multiple opportunities. The opportunities can be open or they could be closed. And of course, I picked the wrong record, so we don't see any data here, but just imagine, if you will, lists of sales opportunities listed here. And you can go on with this. Like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the structure because that's not the real glamorous part, but suffice it to say that you can see and track your information as you need to see and track it within Sage CRM. I'm going to move on to the calendaring and the tickler system because this is a very important part of the value of CRM. So there's this area of Sage CRM called My CRM, and you'll notice it has a sister or brother called Team CRM. My CRM is, when I log in, it's everything that I care about. It's my dashboard that's been set up for me, my calendar, my leads I'm working, my sales opportunities. Team CRM is my entire team's calendar, leads, opportunities, etc. And of course, if I'm a manager, I can go in and look at other people's calendars and leads. And you can actually set it up so that everybody can see everybody's information, which for smaller teams, we actually encourage because we operate as a team. You want to be able to share and look at other information, but every company is different. And if you want to, you can secure it so that Peter only sees Peter's things, Jolene only sees Jolene's things. I'm going to jump over to the calendar. And you'll see here, there's several different views on the calendar. So you'll find the way that works best for you. I like the agenda view. And here's what it does. It says I'm logged in as Susan May here. And it's giving me my calendar for the week, things that I need to work on. You'll see these things in red are things that are overdue. And so they were assigned for today, and I better start working on them because for some reason, someone scheduled them for 2 o'clock in the morning, a little bit before I get up in the morning. So I'm going to go in here and just start working these things. So set up an appointment. So Peter will be in town. Do you have time to meet? So I'm going to call Roger, and I'm just going to get a hold of him and say, Roger doesn't have time to meet in March, wants to connect in June. Call back in early June. And so I've taken care of this. I'm going to complete this. I could just save this and go back to my main list, and it'll move me on to the next task. But because Roger just told me he wants to follow up in June, I'm just going to automatically create a follow-up task, hit save, and you'll see Sage CRM allows me, as part of my sales cycle, stay on top of things a lot easier. And here's this. I can just come in here and say, he asked me to call back for a June visit. So, and I'm just going to leave this blank here. You can put in whatever notes you want. I'm a minimalist, so I believe it doesn't make sense to tell people to write books and books of information here. What you want to do is track key activities that will help streamline your sales cycle and make sure that things are progressing as you need. And also that when you see this appointment at a future date, it just jogs your memory. So I'm going to just put this in here for June 1st, and I'm going to assign it to Susan, and I'm just going to hit save. And when I save, it's going to create that record for Roger, and it's going to take me back to my list. That call for Roger is now gone, and I can just keep working through my list. So it's just a very simple and powerful way of staying on top of this and moving things forward. All right, I want to show you one more feature about the calendar, because I mentioned it when I was showing you the PowerPoint, but I want to show you because this is pretty important. So if I'm on Susan's calendar and I want to set up a task for, let's just choose 3G homes. So I pick 3G homes. It's automatically going to pop up the people that are associated with 3G homes. So I don't have to go sifting through and finding a particular person. I'm going to pick Sandra, and I'm going to just say, send Sandra proposal. She asked about our new product line. And so the reason why I'm showing this is because this is a very common thing to do, and I'll put this on tomorrow's to-do list. I don't forget about it. And sometimes your people might be doing this in Outlook right now, and that's fine. I used to do my calendar in Outlook as well, but I'm going to show you the advantage of doing this in CRM. First and foremost, so I've got this thing that shows up in my calendar. That's nice. It's not really an advantage over Outlook right now. But what this does is, if I'm a coworker of Susan's, I can see what Susan's doing because it's all here inside of CRM. The other thing I can do is, if Sandra calls and asks, where's that proposal? I can come in here and, well, let's just see if I spell this right. I'm just going to go to the person search. I can go pull up this record. So let's say Sandra calls up and I take the call because Susan May is not here today. Maybe she's out sick. I go over to the communications tab and I can see, oh yeah, Sandra, Susan did say she was going to send you the proposal. She's out sick. Can I just give her a reminder when she gets back to the office, or is there something I can help you with? But the key is that because this information's in CRM, it's tracked to not just Susan May's calendar, it's tracked to the person. And if I go over to 3G Homes, I'll see it's also tracked here. So it goes back to that point I made earlier about everything is 1 or 2 clicks away. It makes me more effective, makes me more efficient. I don't have to go digging around for things. I certainly don't have to wait to hear back from Sandra what's on her calendar for the day. I can see all this information right here at my fingertips. So that's a big advantage of doing this in CRM. And when these appointments are set in CRM, it will feed back to the calendar. And what'll happen is in the calendar appointment, it'll also specify who it is with and what company they work with. So your Outlook appointments will look a little bit more structured, and it'll give you more information than just send Sandra a proposal. It'll also have the information about the person and the company. The other thing that this tracking does is it allows me to see reporting. And I'm going to jump over now to talk a little bit about dashboards and reports. One of my favorite reports in CRM builds off of the calendar view, the activity view. It's this activity report. It's called the activity breakdown by user. And there's a couple different ways of looking at this. But when it comes to streamlining sales, this is informational. It doesn't have a direct impact on streamlining sales, but it does allow you to see what sales activities are working. So if you have a list of people, you can see all the different activities that they're doing, the different interactions that you're tracking. You can start to see who's doing what. And so if Susan is just crushing it with your sales, and Peter and John are in second and third place in sales, you can use this to kind of see which activities are working. So again, when we talk about streamlining sales, part of that is knowing what things work and what things don't. And so if I see Susan's crushing it, and she's doing twice as many phone calls as Peter and 20 times many as John, that gives me some information to dig into and to really optimize my sales cycles. And maybe, different strokes, different folks. It might be that Susan has different products that she represents. It might be her accounts are corporate accounts versus enterprise accounts. So you have to put everything in perspective. But this gives you great insight into what is going on, how things are being done, and maybe ways to tweak and improve the way your salespeople operate. Okay, so that's one of my favorite reports there. Now let's go back to dashboards, because again, dashboards, you can set up different dashboards for different roles. I'm going to go over to the sales dashboard. And so this is a very common dashboard. And again, when it comes to streamlining sales, having an at-a-glance view of what's going on with my day can help me effectively manage my day, because I can see from here, I've got 16 open opportunities in different stages. And so these should be my focus, especially the ones where I have sales agreed. So I could sort this by this parameter, and I can see I've got a couple that are sales agreed. Well, the next stage after sale agreed is closed. So where's my paperwork? What's going on here? The only thing that's stopping us from putting this in the bank is getting the paperwork back. So I should probably prioritize those things. And of course, your company may be different. You might prioritize things differently, but these are like just great ways to kind of see what's going on, where things stand in my day, and how to prioritize my day. This is what I call a single pane of glass dashboard, which is very effective. Another type of dashboard, which any of you that have been on one of my presentations before probably have heard me say this, but I really like what I call an early warning dashboard. The reason why I like it is pretty clear. I'll get to that in a second here, but I ask you to imagine in War Games, the movie, when Matthew Broderick goes into the NORAD bunker and he sees all those big monitors on the wall. Well, in theory, if everything's going okay, nothing shows up on those monitors. And so I call that an early warning dashboard, because as soon as something goes awry, the fighter jets show up over Alaska, all of a sudden some of the monitors spring to life. And so that's what an early warning dashboard can do. And they're very effective because you can make sure that things don't fall through the cracks. So you could have a dashboard of my accounts I haven't spoken to in the last 3 months. If you're doing a great job staying on top of things, that list will probably be empty. But let's face it, we're all asked to do too much these days, so things will fall through the cracks. So if I see a couple names pop up on this empty list, I should give them a call next time I have a quiet moment. I might also have a dashboard that says my sales that should have closed in the last 30 days. If I think something's going to close tomorrow, and when I log in on Thursday, it shows up on this dashboard, that means something went wrong. Maybe the paperwork fell through. Maybe the paperwork's fine. I just didn't fill out the information. Maybe the customer had cold feet. Something went wrong. I need to take care of it. And so that's a very effective way to help prioritize your salespeople's time. And those are just two simple examples. You know your business best, but I always encourage people to think of what piece of paper, what list could I give my salespeople that would help them prioritize their time to focus on the most effective, most high value activities in their day? And so for each of us, that's going to be different. But for what it's worth, CRM will allow you to kind of put those lists in front of people. And I'm a big fan of keeping it simple. So like instead of having 40 different lists, just focus people's efforts on 1 or 2 things at a time. And what will happen is slowly and steadily, your sales efforts will bear better results because you're focusing your people. Okay, now I'm going to move on to kind of the heart of what I wanted to talk about today, which is the workflows. And so I'm going to spend most of the rest of the time on the workflows. And again, if you have any questions about anything I've shown you, please put it in the chat. I'll have some time left over at the end to answer any specific questions. And if you really want a specific one-on-one presentation, reach out to your account manager or hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm happy to set up a time to talk with you. So what is a workflow? So what I want to do is show you what it looks like on the screen first. So I'm going to go to my CRM, and this is my sales opportunities. For some people, the word opportunity has different meanings. So I'm going to explain what it is. I'm going to use the example of a car dealership. If I walk into a car dealership and I tell them I want to buy a car, they know I want to buy a car. And they can probably predict if they're a Toyota dealer or if they're a Porsche dealer, kind of what the size of that opportunity is. And they might even be able to look me over and say, this guy looks like he wants a Porsche, but has a Toyota budget, which is probably pretty accurate. And so what'll happen is people will set up an opportunity with kind of a dollar amount, a forecasted dollar amount, and probably they think I'm going to buy today because I said I'm going to buy today, and they'll kind of put that together as an opportunity. Within that opportunity, they may quote me 3 different Porsches, and I'm going to keep saying Porsche because I might as well dream big, right? So they're going to look at the 3 different Porsches, and one of them might be 100,000. I don't know what a Porsche costs, so I'm pretty bad at that. But one of them might be 100,000, one might be 150,000, one might be 200,000. All told, though, those are what's called quotes. I'm only going to buy one, so there's only one opportunity. And so the opportunity is the bucket that quotes sit inside. For many of you, you might just have a business which is just repeat orders where a customer just skips quoting and goes right to orders. That's okay. That can also be handled with Sage CRM. You might also have customers where you only do one quote for the customer. They either buy it or they don't. That's also okay. The opportunity is still the bucket that kind of holds everything together. And then within this bucket, there's different details about this opportunity. So I'm going to go to this consulting job, and I can see this summary screen. And as I mentioned before, don't sweat these fields too much because these would be tweaked to meet your business needs. Very few people use these exact fields out of the box. It's very common. It's part of our standard implementation approach to tweak this to make sure it fits your needs. It supports multi-currency if you work in multiple countries, but it gives you some general information. Then you can see here's where the quotes would go if you have multiple quotes or a single quote. If it turns into an order, you'd see that. You can have unlimited notes. Those interactions I was talking about. It's like if I have a meeting or a phone call, I put them on here. And again, like I mentioned before, you put it in once, it's available anywhere. So if I put in this follow-up for Susan, it'll be on Susan's calendar, it'll be on Arthur Brown, it'll be on DesignRight as a company. So you put it in once, it's available anywhere. And then you can have unlimited documents. A lot of people will have, your network drive, your J drive, files on your C drive buried away somewhere that no one can ever find them. Well, really cool little thing, when we talk about the little things that Sage CRM does, is you can put files in here. And this is a really cool feature that a lot of people don't take full advantage of. But if I put a proposal or a spec sheet around a product that DesignRight is looking at, I put it in here in the document tab, I can access that wherever I go. So I can go to my home office, I could be on the road, I could be at a customer site, I could be at a trade show. I just pull up this opportunity, I pull up this account, go to the document tab, that file's right there. I don't have to have anybody email it to me. I don't have to go searching around in the J drive, the network drive. It's all right there for me. And so this opportunity, this tracking of the sales, just this core piece here, having that together puts a lot of structure around sales team's day and allows you to start to get organized. And you go back out to that view that I was on, and you can see I can slice and dice this thing any old way. You can have different columns in here, but I can easily come in here and say, I only want to see things where I've submitted proposals. I click that, it filters it down, or proposal submitted. And so you can slice and dice, and you've got other ways to slice and dice here. You can put other fields in here. It's like if you want to see, give me the things that are closing in the next 30 days. I only want to focus on those high priority things that are right in my face that I want to like make sure I tie them down and get the business. So you can kind of stay on top of all of this. So once, and then you can see this for Susan, and Susan's a manager, so she can look at other people's pipelines too. So here's Brian Little, and it gives me a nice little summary of what he's working on. So it just gives me a better overview of managing their days. And of course, I could go to the team opportunity pipeline and see all the sales across all my account managers. Very effective tool. I don't have to have people submitting spreadsheets of what's going on, what they think is going to close. It's a very common thing in a lot of businesses where once a month, the salespeople, the account managers will submit a forecast spreadsheet where then the manager spends a couple hours bringing it all together and sorting it, filtering it for the ownership. You can skip all that with CRM because it's all going to be in here, right here at your fingertips. So let's go back into that deal and let's talk about specifically around the workflow. So the way the workflow works in Sage CRM is honestly quite brilliant and beautiful because it shows up. I'm a salesperson on this account. I'm in the quoted stage, which means I sent them a quote. I've got these 4 actions. And so from here, maybe I get busy, maybe I'm going on holiday, I want to reassign it to a coworker. Maybe the customer calls me to negotiate. Maybe I have to re-demo the software, or maybe it goes to sold. Let's just go to negotiating because I want to show you how this works. I have these options. I click negotiating, and then what it's designed to do is only show the fields that are important for the action I just took. So instead of seeing 50, 60 fields on the screen that can be overwhelming to a salesperson, immediately Sage CRM has streamlined this process to only show me the things that I need to care about. And it can even default things. So we've agreed as a company that this type of deal with this customer, when we go to negotiating stage, it's a 50-50 chance of closing this business. But I happen to know this individual. I've been working with them for a long time, so I'm going to bump that up to 85%. The other thing that you can do is these fields can be required. So you might have a process right now where you get incomplete information from salespeople. That happens. But for the really key information, you can require it. So I couldn't go forward and not fill this out. It's going to require me to fill this out. And let's just say, originally we thought this was 40,000, but the customer Arthur has asked for a few add-ons, so it's going to be 46.5. And I might just put in here, Arthur is asking for 60-day term, but he also added options. So it's a give. Oh my goodness, I can't spell. Give, get. So I'm going to hit save here. And now, once this is saved, a couple things happen. This has moved forward to a new stage. I'm in the negotiating stage now. And you're going to see that these actions have changed, some of which are the same. Reassign still there, sold is still there, but now different things have also shown up. And so this is what I meant earlier when I said that these actions can be dynamic. So based on where you are in the deal cycle, the sales cycle, you can control what shows up. And you can control what shows up based on the type of deal it is, the type of customer it is, who your salesperson is. So if Peter Wolf is brand new to the job, it's his first 6 months on the job, maybe he doesn't have a sold button because we want Peter to get approval for all quotes before he marks him as sold because he's still learning. And so you could make this say, if it's 90 days since they started or less, then put at request permission or ask for management approval, whatever. So you can dynamically change what actions show up here, and you could dynamically change what actions show up based on those different parameters. Let's see. So the other thing that happens is when I click these things, in addition to showing only the fields I need to see when I see them or at this stage, I can also create automations. So for example, I've mentioned a couple times now, when I send a proposal to someone, it can put on my calendar in a couple days to follow up with that person. So that action can be programmed against this So that automation can be programmed against this action. So when I click that submit proposal action, it can automatically track this, and then it will put on my calendar, hey, Peter, don't forget to follow up with Arthur about this quote. And so those automations can happen. One of our top customers who uses Sage CRM, what they've done is they've created all sorts of follow-ups to improve customer sell-through. And so when they mark a brand new customer sold, they issue a physical postcard to say, thank you, welcome to the family, looking forward to working with you. 7 days after the sale, the salesperson follows up to make sure everything's going smoothly as promised. 30 days, 6 months, every year on their anniversary. So they've got these structured follow-ups to just kind of build that relationship. And your best account managers probably are doing that intuitively or through discipline, but CRM is going to make it easy for you. And it really starts to get cool if you work as a team, because let's say all your account managers, those follow-ups get scheduled, but someone else is doing that for them. So a central coordinator, a sales marketing assistant, they could go in and see Peter's got all these follow-ups to do, I'll do them for him. So they might go off and follow up with those people. It looks like it's from me, not to be deceitful to your customers, but a lot of those follow-ups are just touch points. And if the customer does want to talk in earnest, then you would pick up the phone and talk to them. But it's just a great way to reinforce the relationship and to stay on top of those little touch points that so many of us just can't fit into our day because we're so busy dealing with the here and now that tomorrow's follow-ups are hard to get our heads around. So that's kind of an effective way of how this workflow works. And I mentioned before that it does tracking for you. And so this is a really cool thing. I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to show you back from the dashboard though, because this is a very common thing that happens where I'm looking at my calendar, or maybe I'm Susan's boss looking at Susan's calendar. And I see this thing that was opened almost a year ago. So if I'm Susan's boss, I could call her. I could say, Susan, what the heck is going on? Or I could wait till our scheduled sales meeting. And heck, if I didn't have CRM, I'm not sure I'd even know about this except for looking through my spreadsheets that Susan has submitted to me. But with CRM, I can see this. I can drill in here. I can go to the tracking tab and I can see, who did what, when they did it, what things changed, any notes about the deal, and I can quickly get up to speed. And I might just, use my judgment to, then when I call Susan, when I do interrupt her, I have a better lay of the land. I have a better picture of what the heck is going on here. And I can say, Susan, it looks like, this thing is kind of stalled out. I know you did these things here today, but, gosh, it's been, months since we really had any real serious activity. You started negotiations almost, 6 months ago. And so you have a better informed, a better opportunity to be informed about what the next step should be. And the same thing is true. It's not just Big Brother looking over Susan's shoulder. As if I'm Susan, same thing. I see these things. Maybe I sort them by the open date. Maybe I put the close date in here or the estimated close date. I sort by estimated close date. But I can quickly come in here and do my own cleanup. I'm looking through here and I say, why the heck did this stall out? What in the world is going on here? So like this one's from February. I can come in here, look at the tracking tab, get up to speed, and it just helps me move along with my day. So to me, this is the heart of streamlining the operation. And I do want to just show you just a little bit behind the scenes of what's going on, because it's real simple from the user standpoint. It's just those buttons there. Couldn't be any easier to manage the workflow. But behind the scenes, this kind of shows you the power of Sage CRM. So behind the scenes, I mentioned before, you can have dynamic flows and branches. Like literally, the sky is the limit as far as how you want to branch this, what kind of automations you want to do. So I'm going to edit this workflow so we can dive into this. But you see all these different branches, these different things. This is honestly a pretty simple workflow. We've got some customer with pages and pages of different decision points and trees. And when you go into an action, when you go into a rule, a thing that you're doing, like I'm marking this as sold, different things can happen. And those things can be, it's pretty diverse. You can create follow-up tasks. You can spin off opportunities. So here's a good example. Sometimes you close an opportunity and then there's another opportunity. So I close an opportunity for an annual bid. So someone gave me an annual bid. we closed it, or whether we won it or lost it, maybe it automatically generates an opportunity for 9 months from now because we want to get a jump on the sales cycle for the next year's bid. Okay, or there's maybe an upsell opportunity. So they just bought product X and we happen to know product Y is you probably wouldn't want to upsell them at that point because you already sold them, but definitely a cross-sell opportunity. So if someone bought product X, you might want to call them back about product Y, or have your product Y team call them and say, hey, I saw you bought this. Here's another thing you might be interested in. You can do a postcard. So like hey, thanks for purchasing. Send emails, send text messages, etc. There's all sorts of things that you can do that are very powerful that will help you mobilize the CRM to make sure things don't get forgotten about and to save your people time. So the system can start to do some of these things that maybe people are doing right now. The system can remind me to follow up on that quote. You know, the system can remind my assistant to send out that thanks for your business email. So that's kind of it for me, Jolene. I know we ended early, but I wanted to leave room for questions. Definitely, again, I would just encourage anyone who's interested. Sage CRM is like a blank sheet of paper. It can sing and dance to your tune. I'm not sure, I think I mixed metaphors there because paper doesn't sing nor dance, but I think you guys get the gist. But definitely it can be shaped to how you need it to work. Hopefully what I showed you today will give you ideas for kind of how it could be effective for you and your sales team to maximize your sales and streamline your activities and really make sure that your salespeople are working productively and effectively to reach the common goal of helping customers and making money.
Awesome. Thanks, Peter. We'll now open it up for questions. If you have any questions, please enter them into the question section of your GoToWebinar. And just a reminder, everyone, we do have a subject matter expert here. This is a great opportunity to have your questions answered in real time. And we did have a few questions come in during the presentation, Peter. The first being, how does this compare to Salesforce?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Salesforce is without a doubt a great product, and I will not say otherwise. But what I have found is most Sage accounting system customers, Salesforce is almost too big for them. I had one of my Sage 100 customers come to me who had been using Salesforce, and I'll never forget, she said using Salesforce was like driving a semi-truck to go get a bag of groceries. It was just awkward and unwieldy and just too much for her. And so, they happily went to Sage CRM, which was a better fit for an SMB customer. Plus the integration with Sage 100, with Sage CRM out of the box, that can't be beaten. It really is very powerful. I have a video about it on my YouTube channel about the Sage 100 Sage CRM integration. I encourage everyone to take a look at that.
And we have another. How long does it take to get CRM up and running?
It will depend on your needs, but definitely what you want to do is, we preach a philosophy of crawl, walk, run. One of the biggest challenges with CRM is people try to do too much too fast, especially if you've been using spreadsheets and Outlook. It's a big culture change, so respect that and start off simple, get some of the core benefits, get a quick ROI. Another bit of advice I would say is implement for your sales team. So a lot of those places where I said automations and do this to make their life easier and help them juggle things, focus on those things first before you focus on those dashboards and reports, because if salespeople think the tool is just going to be a big brother tool, they'll kind of avoid it and they'll kind of resent it. But if you make it easier for them to do their jobs with it, they'll start to enjoy it. So if you stick with that principle of crawl, walk, run, we actually can get people up and running in 3 to 4 weeks. It's very fast. It's surprisingly fast if you focus on the key important things first. Hopefully that helps.
We have a few more. Can I integrate this with my website?
Yeah, that's a really important question, especially as part of Streamline sales. So a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll have request forms on their website, or request this brochure, or look at this, and so you have lead capture forms. So those lead capture forms usually go into a file that someone gets emailed, or it goes right to an email address. With Sage CRM, you can integrate those forms right into CRM. So it's really freaking cool because it will show up in your lead grid in the morning. So you'll see all the people that requested information, what they requested, and then you can assign those leads to whoever's appropriate based on product or territory or whatever, first come, first serve, however you do it. but it does definitely, that's a big part of streamlining the sales cycle. So I'm glad someone asked that.
We have a couple more. What about keeping track of non-customers? Does it clutter up Sage?
Oh, that is a great question. Yeah, so most of our customers come to us, they're using a Sage accounting system, and they are storing prospects in the Sage accounting software. Well, with CRM, the whole goal is you have, in fact, I'm going to just share, I think I'm still sharing my screen, Jolene, is that right?
Yep, you are.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so what'll happen is you'll have prospects in here, and then they will not clutter up your Sage 100, but then when they are ready to buy, you would push a button. It's a single click push that would then send them over to your accounts receivable setup as a customer. No one has to rekey anything, but yeah, all your prospects would stay inside of the CRM tool, and your accounting system would be clutter-free, which is a very good thing.
We have another. How does it compare to ACT?
Okay, ACT. Yeah, so ACT, little history here. ACT used to be owned by Sage, but they sold it off, I believe, back in 2011 because they felt that Sage CRM was the go-to solution for their customers. ACT is a great tool, but it is more designed for basic contact management. Sage CRM is truly a CRM platform, and so it does some things that ACT just isn't designed to do. So some of these more advanced things like the automations, the workflow, you can do them in ACT, but it's not really designed for that. They've kind of added that on over the years. Sage CRM was designed from the get-go to be this kind of central automation workflow workhorse for your company, your team.
And we have one more. Can we load data all at once with lists?
Yeah, so this is a very common thing where people, if you go out and buy lead lists from D&B or Info USA or one of those sources, or if you go to a trade show, you don't have to key in data. In fact, wherever possible, we encourage you to create automations, because when it comes to improving sales, you want salespeople to focus on the things that are important, which is serving the customers, talking to customers, providing solutions for the customers. Things like entering data are not a critical thing. And so we want to make that as easy as possible. So certainly you can load in data. In fact, we encourage it.
Perfect. And give me 1 minute as I take back the screen. Perfect. Thank you so much, Peter, for your informative presentation and for taking the time to be here today. For more information on Sage CRM, check out our website at swktech.com and click on Sage CRM in the CRM section in the Products tab. Thank you everyone for attending our webinar. Have a wonderful rest of your day.